Hello everyone, my name is the Retroden and welcome to The Quest for 100%, where we cover completed games from all genres. Today, we're covering one of the most underrated and high quality JRPGs and indie games that was released in 2023, which is Chained Echoes, as you could see by the title. Chained Echoes stands out as a JRPG game due to various factors. The main things you will hear about the game from people who praise it is about how beautiful it looks and how good the OST is. Despite that, the game praises itself for having what looks like complicated systems, which are backed up by the biggest quality of life aspects, which is something you don't see in many JRPGs, such as healing your party to full after each battle, and basically requiring zero grinding throughout the entirety of the game. For such a small development team, the game also features a huge detailed universe with a somewhat complex lore that will have you thinking Tetsuya Nomura managed to get his hands on its writing. That being said, I did enjoy the story for what it tried to get across. As for my personal ratings for this game, I'd have to say it has made my top tier for games I played in 2024, and is an overall 10 out of 10 game, which is a score I don't give out lightly. And it seems that a lot of people are close to agreeing with me, seeing as Metacritic stapled it as a must-play game and gave it a review score of 90 out of 100, which is a huge score considering it's an indie game. When it comes to difficulty, I'd say that the game can get quite hard at times, but if you are moderately prepared for each encounter in terms of knowledge, you can get through anything with some level of ease. Hence why I'm giving this game a 5 out of 10 difficulty rating, which shouldn't scare anyone away from playing it or even complete it. As for my final verdict, this game is a must play if you are a JRPG fan, and a huge reward for all the turn-based combat fans, rivaling the quality of recent retro-inspired games like Octopath Traveler. All of that being said, I think it's time we hop onto the save file, as this time we have a lot to see. And let's jump right into the save file, and let's take it step by step because there are quite a few things I want to show you, so let's start here by the clan. So after Act 2 in the game, you get access to a clan that's going to be relevant for the rest of the story, and as the game progresses, so does the clan. When you complete side quests, you unlock more buildings, you unlock more characters you can use or serve as just NPCs inside of your clan. And this here is the fully completed clan you get after doing everything in the game. So, there are not many things that are quite actually practical in the clan itself, but there are also some things that are really useful towards the general aspects of the game. So now let me show you what it looks like once you have completed the game. So, for aesthetic purposes, we have here this statue you get once you complete everything in the game, because this is basically the statue you get for beating that super boss, which I did in one of my last videos, and you can go look at that fight if you're interested in what the fight actually looks like. Here to the left we have a bit of a barn building that serves no practical purpose, as I just said. We also have right here to the right an embassy building, which is lore relevant because the clan gets so big that you need an embassy to communicate with all the kingdoms around you and to set up trade routes and everything. To the right, or let's start by the left actually, to the left here we have the inn, and it's also good to note that all of these buildings, once fully developed, have some chests inside of them and some loot you can get. There are special items you get for completing all of the game, and I can tell you exactly right now what these chests were actually in terms of loot, because once I looted them I didn't actually pay attention to what they had, but I'm sure you can find this information anywhere in the game. Now, heading on to the next building here to the right, it's the only one that actually serves any practical purpose, which is the blacksmith and the store. As you can see here, this store you can use to buy consumables. You don't have access to the deals here because to complete the game you have to complete the deals, and that's basically what I've already done, so no point in showing you the deals themselves because they are already completed, but I'll explain to you in another video what the deals actually are. And up here you have the upgrade stations for weapons and armor, and also the crystal system, which I'm not going to delve deep into, and I can make another video on it, because if you guys are interested in the mechanics of this game, I can always make a video or some guides to explain to you the systems more in depth, or even simplify them for all of you that are interested at jumping to the game and get to play it. But as you can see here, it has the menu in which you can upgrade all of your gear. It works pretty normally as any upgrade system. You just press X if you have the materials, you pay a gold fee, and you upgrade your gear. All of this is the best gear, but I'm going to show you that in a while, so just give me a minute. Now let's head into the cave, which is the main part of the clan, and it's where the most useful things out of all of them are. And basically you have this lady right here, which gave you the chance of getting the location of where items dropped. So basically once you unlock this lady inside of the clan, you can head here into your inventory, look at the items, and then when it comes to loot, it will show on the right when or where they actually drop. As you can see here, there's adamantium nugget that drops from God King Gendriel, which is actually the last boss in the game. And I'm curious to see how much this sells for, so we're going to see that in a second. But then we have what was probably the most useful NPC out of them all, which is this lady right here, which for 100 arc, which is the coin or the money of this game, gives you clues on where you can find NPCs to join your clan. As you can see right here, there's no information because I've gone on them all, but they came in 3 batches that were separated by acts. So basically you got the first batch in the second act of the game, the first one, excuse me, the second batch in the third act of the game, and the third batch in the fourth act of the game. Now these can range from usable characters in your party to like NPC characters that are just standing around in your clan. Now let's start here by the left, which is the least interesting stuff. You have here this place which just composes itself with a lot of fun. As you can see, there are dogs and cats around, and you can actually pet the dogs. When you pet the dogs, they put out a little heart animation, and if you pet the cats, they just stay angry. And you have this NPC right here, which is the one who actually brought all the plants and animals with her or him. I don't know, it's kind of a mushroom thingy. And then once you head down, you have also one of the most useful things in the game, which are these 2 fishermen, which every in-game hour collect items passively, which you can then grab from them by just talking to them. As we can see right here, speaking with this, he doesn't have any items, but this one should have something, because yeah, I haven't talked to him in a while. As you can see, he's providing me with some materials I can use to then upgrade my gear. Moving on to the main rooms, there's not much here that is pretty useful when it comes to actual game mechanics. You can talk to your clan members, which have their little very interesting portraits. But other than that, nothing that really stands out. I'm still going to show you around. There's the kitchen area. There's also some barrels and some NPC characters. Here is where the sky armors are located, and there's also some completion things related to sky armors that I'm going to show you in a second. Then going up, there's also more characters. These 2 are quite interesting. So this one is Eddie, in which you can choose music from any part of the game to play inside of your clan. Let's pick here the Roland Fields, which is one of my favorite themes for the game, and it starts playing. And then this dog is a weird NPC because every time you talk to him, he just says a random sound effect from the game. As you can see here, he plays a random sound effect every time you talk to him, which is, I don't know, it's just random. Then this here was a chest that dropped a Soul of Farnes. Soul of Farnes is basically the item you use to craft the ultimate weapons in this game, which I can show you once I show you my party and the entirety of their gear. So as you can see, there's nothing else that's really relevant to show, just NPCs standing around which you can talk to for some dialogue that might be interesting. This was where the upgrade guy used to stay if you hadn't upgraded the clan all the way. And then there's just this last place you can go to up here that has some more NPCs like Sir Eagle, the magician farm guy, which I'm pretty sure doesn't give you anything. Yeah, there's Rob, there are the monks that give you double SP for every fight, SP being the thing you actually use to upgrade your abilities in case you want to make them stronger and make them level up faster. You have some NPCs here, like Haku and other guy who pilots airships, and Tomke, which is one of my favorite characters in the game. He just has amnesia and he has to eat other monsters to recover his abilities, which was a quite interesting mechanic. Then let's move on to the next thing that is one of the completion criteria for this game, which is also relevant for this statue. As you can see, if I talk to the statue, it says a monument for the greatest explorer in all of Eldria. He was the first one to successfully cartograph Valandis and release a comprehensive encyclopedia of its flora and fauna, the one and only Vesta. And you unlock this by completing this, the reward board. So, as you can see, there's the longest chain right there of 154. Now, this chain is related to specific challenges you have to do in order to complete the reward board. And every single challenge you do right here rewards you with something such as a material, an amount of SP, and an amount of gold. Now, as you can see, a lot of these look like they're the same, but they can be quite different, and they can have some specific criteria when it comes to different zones or different monsters. Now, these ones right here that are slime with the helmet usually are for unique monsters you have to beat in every area. As you can see here, for the Rolling Fields, we have the Leaping Frog, the Building, which was a mimic disguised as a windmill, and Tack the Yak. Then you have these right here, which are for exploring the entirety of a map in a specific region. You have these right here, which are for killing a certain amount of enemies in a certain region. As you can see here, defeating 3 out of 3 out of an enemy, 6 out of 6, and 5 out of 5. And then you have these ones for collecting class emblems, treasure chests, and buried treasures, which are right here. Then, these ones with the sword are the unique ones in which you have to do specific encounters with specific criteria. As you can see here, winning an encounter against crabs with only Glenn, and if I'm not mistaken, there are ones at the beach that you have to take out your clothes, not sure where they are, and beat an encounter. And yeah, right here, win an encounter on foot without anyone wearing any body armor in the Arcant Archipelago. And the last one you will be getting is this one, which is defeating God King Gamdriel, which is supposedly the hardest mob in the game, which is not quite my opinion on what the hardest boss fight was, but it's supposed to be the last boss in the game. Now, as you chain these, because they don't come all like one after the other, you will be doing these at separate times and clearing them up later in the story, you get chains. And the longer the chains, the more rewards you get. As you can see here, you have Sacred Waters, which are used to unlock class emblems, which I will show you in a moment once I show you the gear of all my characters. You get Grimoire Shards, which are the levels of this game, and you also get Souls of Farnese and Rusty Knuckles. Basically, the rusty items are what you use to craft the legendary weapons, and then after you getting the rusty item, you need to get a Soul of Farnese, as you can see there at the 112 unlock, which you use to actually put some soul into the weapon and make them usable. Now, this is what the completed board looks like. There are quite some specific challenges and hidden treasures which I had to look around on Google to find the specific locations of, but other than that, this is what it looks like once it's fully completed. Now, after the reward board, it's good to show you here the entirety of the map. I cannot zoom out more than what exactly is shown right here, but this is what it looks like once you have everything unlocked. Now you can see everything as an orange tint because the game saves you right before the final encounter, and the world is just about to burst up in flames before you finish it. Now, as you can see right here, there are some locations that are only shown after you beat the game, such as this right here, which is a specific boss encounter. You also have some here to the left, such as the Flying Continent of Shambhala, which is story related. You have a small island that I cannot for the life of me find, but that's optional and only unlocks after you read a book in the last location of the game, which is Nissa Academy, and it's this island right here, which is very relevant for the things I just mentioned, because it's here in this island with this NPC that you will be crafting the legendary weapons by giving him the rusty items and the souls of Farnes. As you can see here, I actually just finished the quest, which was probably already finished, but it didn't save for some reason, or it was something with my save file being cleared and all of that. Now, heading onto the map, let's just sit around in a city so I can show you the last important thing or thing that I find relevant. Let's just do it right here where there's not much to do, and sit right here in the middle so I can show you the gear and my final party for the game. As you can see here, this was the setup I was running for my final battles, and I'm using the first two, which are Bathraz and Len, which are my magical damage characters. You have Glenn and Eagle, which I'm using as tanks. You have Sienna as a high risk, high reward physical damage character, paired with Amalia, which is my group healer. I can switch out with Sienna in case I want to use some healing like emergency, and her ultimate is pretty useful because it fully revives and heals everyone in the party, and that's why I was using her instead of Victor, which is another character I'm going to show you in a second that's also a buffer and a healer. And for the last two, I'm using Mika, which is also one of the best physical damage characters, which has single target and AoE, and Rob was just that character that was there because in case I needed like a silence or a blind, because he's basically the debuff character. Now let's take a look at the equipment so you can see everything I have equipped for each character. Now I'm rocking the best weapons for every single character because you can just go right here and optimize the party by pressing triangle. So these are basically the legendary weapons you get for each character or kind of weapon. Every character uses its unique weapon. There are no repeats throughout the entire roster. And these are the classes or the class emblems you unlock. They work in a similar way as jobs inside of Final Fantasy or other JRPGs that have a job mechanic, and every single one of them is pretty much self-explanatory, despite some of them like the monk and the chemist, and each one of them has its own use, and you can see right here how they improve or decrease some stats. And every single one of the class emblems comes with two abilities, which you can then master on a single character, which will then be able to be used without having the class emblem equipped. So if you want to, you could just like master an ability with a certain character and then move that class emblem around in order to pass it on to other characters, and then put the class emblem back in the original character just for the stat buffs. So I'm rocking the Pyromancer here because I needed a fire attack on Bathraz, and it's like the class emblem that gives you the most magic attack identified by the mage stat right here on the right. And that's just an example of how you use these kinds of items. And these are all the class emblems in the game, which you also need to unlock for a trophy and for the reward board. Then you have Glenn, and all of these, as you can see here, all of these that they have equipped are the best items you can unlock in the game, because you get a deal, those deals I talked about earlier, for the best items in the game, and you can just buy them out and equip them, and you are guaranteed at least one for each character. So every character is completely maxed out here in terms of weapons and in terms of armor. Now I can't say that they are specifically min-maxed, because there's also the crystal system, which you can pretty much ignore in this game, and there's also the accessories and the class emblems, which you can move around to maybe maximize the amount of damage, but that's up to whoever wants to do it their own way. As you can see here, these are all the equipable accessories you have in the game, each one with their specific stats and buffs. If you see right there on the bottom right corner of the accessory, there's usually something that will prompt you to move the page to tell you what an accessory does. For example, this one is the Charm of the Learner, which gives you 2 times SP for your abilities. Now, just to show you the other characters on a quick whim, you have Sienna here with the katana, you have Mika, Len, Egil, Amalia, Rob, and these are the ones I'm not using right now, which is Magnolia, which has a really weird playstyle, which I didn't quite understand. This is her ultimate weapon, which I didn't really use her for anything. As you can see, she doesn't even have an accessory, but I can investigate more about her if I ever am to make guides about this game and I ever need to make a specific guide for her. Then we have Tomke. Now, Tomke is really interesting and I'm going to show you why in a little bit, but this is what I was running on him. Then you have Raphael, which I also didn't use it. He came very far into the game to replace a character called Killian, which for lore reasons abandoned us throughout the story, and this is the great sword user for this playthrough. And you had Victor, which is one of the first healers you have access and one of the most useful characters because he's a magic dealer or magic damage dealer. He's a healer and he's also a buffer and debuffer, so this is probably one of the best characters in the game, but I personally wasn't use it because I found something that worked for me. Now, when it comes to skills, as you can see here, I have every single ability unlocked in the game. These are the passive abilities you have access to, and these are the active abilities, and these are basically the stats you have to unlock in your characters. All of these are unlocked by Grimoire shards, and if you can see, all of my characters' SP count is at 9999 because I have basically already leveled up every single ability I'm using. As you can see here, they all have 3 tiers and I have already maxed all of them. As you can see right here, these are the class abilities I have unlocked. As you can see, in this specific character I have unlocked 4 class abilities, which were Aqua, Terra, Ignis and Ventus, in case I needed some elemental coverage, because this game works in a similar way like Pokemon. It has an elemental weakness and resistance system, and I basically have everything fully leveled up. I will just now go throughout all the characters and each active and passive ability really quickly, and if you want to copy my setup, you can pause and copy it into your own save file. So let's take a look here. And these are the setups I used for every single one of them. Now, if you don't know anything about chain decos, you probably wouldn't know that this game also features mechas. And these were the last 4 I actually used to beat the game. Now, I'm only going to mention a little bit about skyarmors because I do truly plan on releasing guides for this game. It's a game I'm very passionate about and I understand quite a little bit of it, so I tend on releasing some guides for it, but this was the Sky Armor setup I was running. So basically Sky Armor, really quickly, is a type of combat that is basically using mechas and you don't use your main characters. These are the only 4 characters you get access to, and its equipment system basically works in a way that you have proficiencies for weapons. As you can see right here, all of them are maxed out, and you also get the actual armors themselves that are used for different archetypes of characters. So like I'm using this one right here with Glenn, which is the character that uses this specific Sky Armor for physical damage. I'm using Victor for debuffs and healing. I'm using Bathras for magic damage and single target healing, and I'm using Sienna for AoE damage and cleanup. And as you can see here, not all the characters have all the weapons maxed out because you only needed 1 for the trophies, and to be honest, in these other characters you won't be switching their weapons in and out, so you can max them if you want, but I found no use for it as I just maxed out the weapons that I found relevant. Now, for the settings, the 2 that I want to speak about the most are this frame right here, which is Balthazar, and this frame right here, which is Diagir FD, because these 2 are the most unique and the strongest frames you can get in the game. They're lore tied to the classic technology of this universe, and they basically are the strongest ones you can get in this game. Now this one is the first you get. You have to do a small quest by paying 50,000, and these are the stats. So basically compared to what the top tier frame would be, these are basically the stat differences, which are pretty significant. This would be the one I would be using for Glenn. So as you can see right there, less 300 of HP, less 30 of attack, and less everything basically, except 1 point of agility. Now I'm using the strongest version of every single one I can use when I don't have these classic models. So as you can see here, for Victor, I'm rocking the Agamemnon, and excuse me for the pronunciation, FA600, 600 being the strongest one you can get right here, as you can see. And for Sienna, I'm rocking Ovelia FO600 with critical chance RAM. And there's also a lot of color palettes which are really interesting because a lot of them are references to Evangelion or Neon Genesis Evangelion, or whatever you want to call it, like Adam 01, Adam 00, and Adam 02, which are direct references to the Evas themselves from the anime Evangelion, which is one of my favorites animes ever, so I found it to be quite an interesting reference. And this was everything that I basically found kind of relevant to talk about Chained Echoes. I really want to record more guides about this game, as I think its systems are quite unique and some people can have some trouble understanding them. I know some of my friends had quite some trouble understanding some of the mechanics in this game, but I'm really interested in recording some videos about Chained Echoes, regardless of how good or how bad they perform in terms of the algorithm. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this second episode of the quest for 100%. This was definitely an interesting game I wanted to cover, and I hope you guys get the chance to play it sometime. Please leave a comment if you watch the video until the end. I really appreciate all of your support. Leave a like if you can spare a second of your time to do so. And subscribe if this is the first video you are watching and are not subscribed yet. But other than that, I hope you have the rest of a great day. This has been the Retro Den, and I'm out.